Final update. Caught wife trying to cheat with my friend from her iwatch. My original posts were deleted, so I'll post them along with the update wed second deck for context. Tuesday, October 27th. Please bear with me if this is formatted incorrectly since I'm writing it on my phone. So my 7-year-old wife decided to take a night of relaxation last night. After supper, she went to the den to watch her shows, while I alternated between watching the Spurs game, football/soccer, and doing some other things I had planned. The next thing I know, she's got the wine out and has consumed 2 bottles of it. I went to check on her at midnight and found her asleep on the sofa. I was about to pick her up when her iwatch buzzed and a message appeared on the screen. It stated something like, "Haha, I can't do that because my name would knock 7 shades of out of me pp." I was curious as to what the heck that was all about, so I pushed on it, and it turned out to be a chat between my wife and a buddy of mine. Now, I wouldn't call him a close buddy, but he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years, drank with, and known since we were adolescents. We used to nickname him Jacket Holder because when we were teenagers and got into fights, he was usually the one holding the coats while everyone else went for them. So, as I said, I continued the chat while this gadget was still linked to her wrist and scrolled up to the top. And as far as I can tell, he contacts her first, unless she's erased. There's a lot of flirting and winking going on, but nothing that you could call obvious infidelity. Then I get to yesterday night, and when she's intoxicated, she begins openly asking him for. I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm paraphrasing since I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying things like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do anything, and the final one that me over, that she was fantastic at keeping secrets. I tried scrolling through her watch but couldn't see any further messages, and I don't have her phone passcode. I placed her in her bed and sat in the kitchen in disbelief until I fell asleep. Then woke up at 5:30 a.m. for work. When I went to get in my work van, I just slunked down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it, so I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled it to the brim with Coke, and went for a walk down the railway line. We live next to a lot of woodland and a disused railway line that runs for miles, and I've walked about half of it. I'm sitting like a troll beneath a railway bridge right now, fuming at the entire affair. Because of the steam pouring out of my ears, you'd think there was a fire a mile away. So, what should I do? I don't want to talk to her. I can't even look at her after reading that stuff. It was like a sword in my heart. I just feel like every crumb of love I had for her has vanished into thin air after reading her begging like that. Yuck. I really want to ghost her boyfriend. If I could, I'd never talk to her again. The whole "I'm amazing at keeping secrets" thing really got to me. Like, who are you? It stinks, but how deep down the rabbit hole do I want to go? I don't care whether I'm being truthful or not. I'm just done. I've never felt so deceived or disgusted in my whole life. The trouble is, I've invested so much in her as a person, not just as a companion. I adored her and believed that her personality, and therefore mine, represented that of decent people. Realizing she's a backstabbing serpent makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was the day before. The only way I can express it is that if someone you looked up to, received advice and life lessons from, and then found out they were or simply a creep, your whole view of yourself and who you are would be destroyed because you accepted what they said and spent time in a monster. I apologize for my rambling babble. I'm fortunate in that my parents own our home, which they transferred to a retirement community 6 years ago, and we moved in. The home will be left to me when they die, but I don't own it and hopefully won't for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the maintenance and all the troubles and wanted to spend their dying days in peace. So when we split, my soon-to-be ex won't have access to it. So what should I do? I'm really considering not saying anything and just tossing her out. Also, while coming here, it occurred to me to call my locksmith friend and have him discreetly replace the locks today. I could feed her any old nonsense about the doors being smashed. She won't worry what's going on as long as I'm around. Then, after he's finished, lock the front door and tell her to come out and look at something out back, and when she does, simply dash back in and shut the door behind me. Doesn't it seem juvenile as? But truly, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm gazing at a bottle right now, and my life seems torn apart at the seams. As for my so-called buddy, there's little question he was up to something here. There's also little question that I would have missed this at all, so I'll be seeing him soon. And instead of clutching coats, he'll be holding his face. Edit to add. I went to a friend's place to unwind, and I tossed away the vodka. She's been messaging me, wondering where I am, since my work vehicle is still parked in the driveway. I texted her that there was an engine issue, so I hitched a ride to work. Tonight is the night I'll make my move. Wednesday, October 28th. 2 dog walkers came over to check on me since I was clearly bothering them. I told them everything, they listened, and the first thing one of them told me was, "Son, the worst thing you can do right now is drink, it'll bring carnage." I owe her thanks for that since I was on the road to hell at the time. I tossed the vodka away, called a buddy, and he said I could come to his for a while to cool down. He was at work, but told me where the spare key was. We live in a tiny town of roughly 15,000 people. So after I got there, I sat on his sofa simply trying to calm myself. Throughout the morning, my wife texted and called me, wondering where I was and what the heck was going on, since my work vehicle was still parked in the driveway and I was nowhere to be seen. I texted her back, explaining that there was a problem with the engine and that I needed a ride to work, which she appeared to accept since she just texted back, "Okay." When my buddy returned from work around 5 p.m., I told him everything that had transpired and sought his opinion. I also advised him not to tell anybody about the jacket holder because it may get back to my wife, which I didn't want at this moment, and that I would deal with him later. That is, I will expose him for that he is, punching the heck out of him. Won't assist me at all right now. As an addendum to those who claim he has done nothing wrong, he messaged my wife first. He was being incredibly flirty. What the is he even trying to message my wife for in the first place? He only knows her in passing, from afar. I have no issue with 2 adults speaking, but they hardly knew one another, and it was flirtatious from the start, as far as I could tell. I believe they've seen each other while out and about and things have become flirtatious after then. So my buddy persuaded me to maintain a low profile and see what I could discover while also speaking with a lawyer and getting the ball moving in terms of determining my choices, which I have done today. He drove me home at 6 p.m., and I was literally dead on my feet by that time. I suppose the adrenaline running all day and then suddenly stopping takes it right out of you, so I was quite weary when I got home. I knew something was wrong the moment I got through the door because my wife was immediately on me, asking me all kinds of questions about work. I questioned her why she even cared. She claimed I'd left my huge flask and lunch bag in the front passenger seat, and she could tell something was off today. I was about to lie, but I was too tired, and I couldn't be bothered putting on any sort of charade, so I just said, "Yeah, there's something up." That when I was putting her drunk to bed last night, a message appeared on her iwatch, which I read, and all the others, and that she was a disgusting cheat with whom I had nothing more to do. Within a split second, her demeanor shifted from that of a powerful woman with her arms crossed to that of a terrified young girl. "You're good at hiding secrets, aren't you? You're begging that tiny rat for, aren't you?" Yes, I did read it all. She began weeping, so I just went away and got into the shower. When I went out, she was still weeping on the top stairwell, and the excuses began immediately away. How she was intoxicated, fragile, had never done anything like that before. How he had messaged her first and it didn't mean anything. How she was never going to follow through. She said pretty much what everyone else said on here, as if she had a playbook. The only thing she didn't do was attempt to blame me. She undoubtedly knew I'd toss her out the door if she tried such nonsense. I informed her I wanted a divorce and for her to leave the home within a month. She was also informed that she would be relocating to the extra room. Since then, I've been ignoring her, scowling at her and shaking my head whenever she begins waffling gibberish. I don't want to hear it. She stayed in the guest room yesterday night, and I haven't spoken or texted with her since. If I'm fortunate, she'll be gone by the time I come home from work, but my luck isn't that good. When I got her out, I told my parents what was going on, and my mother was insistent that I wasn't going to send her out on the streets. Her and my mom have always been close, we'll be together 11 years in December. My mother was saying that she made a mistake, and that we should deal with it as adults. that we'd gone through too much together, and that she didn't really do anything, that it was just words. She absolutely sided with her above my, and I couldn't believe it. Could this possibly be here? Is it true that I have no right to ask her to go if my mother is opposed to it? It's actually going to be my home when my parents die, and I've done nothing wrong, so I'm not going anywhere. It's probably going to turn into War of the Roses Roman 2. I was able to get an appointment with a divorce lawyer for next week, so I'll be there to discuss my alternatives. Until then, I suppose I'll simply ignore my soon-to-be ex-wife. I know she's probably not going to reveal anything else now, so I'll never know whether she was a very good liar or if she was simply spewing nonsense to him to get him to agree to have an affair with her. Stay tuned for updates.